No, this is the scattering, the first scattering of the saints. And we were talking about that also as Paul begins to persecute the church and scatter them. And then in Acts chapter 9, we see Saul is transitioned into the church. Saul, by the way, was a saved Jew under the Mosaic law. I know there will be some people who say, oh, no, no, he wasn't. But if you really pay attention to especially what Paul was actually saying and the stuff that he teaches, he was a saved Jew who was transitioned into the church. He did not get his gospel from the people he persecuted. He did not get his gospel from the apostles after this experience on the Damascus road. He received the gospel from Christ himself when he went out into Arabia for 3 years and he was taught by Christ. That's where he actually received it. That's where he began to, well, ultimately where he was transitioned into the church. The Damascus road did not save Paul. Paul was already saved. The Damascus road is God correcting Paul. That's what it is. And then assigning him ultimately the position of the steward of our dispensation. Now, we do see over in Galatians chapter 1, verses 11, and then chapter 2, all the way through chapter 2, verse 1, where Paul talks about the fact that, brethren, the gospel which I preached by me is not according to man, for I neither received it from or alongside man, nor was I taught it, but it came through a revelation of Jesus Christ. So you can't go and say, well, Paul knew it from the people he was persecuting. No, that's not what he says. And his gospel is quite unique. It's more, well, unique in the sense that it's laid out a whole lot cleaner for us. Where with Peter and some of the others, you get pieces, and they were talking about the resurrection of Christ, and of course, the fact that Christ would have died for our sins. That would ultimately go back to Isaiah 53 is a really good example of that it was prophesied that he would do that, among other passages, because God said he is actually going to take away the sins of the people. Well, the only way you can take away the sins of the people is a sacrifice worthy of that. So they would have understood that. Where Paul comes in and he lays it out clean for us. A good example of laying it out clean again is over in 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, starting in verse 3. This is, of course, the gospel by which we're saved.